Welcome back to the call up. We've got an in-person edition as we're down here for the World Baseball Classic, and we're about to go see Jordan Walker. I'm Aram he's Jack McMullen, and this is a really cool setup, right? We did the Just Baseball show in person. Now we're doing the call up in person. I'm excited to go see the WBC. We're going to see some really awesome prospects in that lens with Japan over there, and also some really good young players that are going to be making their way into the semifinals and finals. But we're here to talk about contract extensions and pre-arb deals for top prospects that, after the Corbin Carroll deal, after the Curtis Mead talk, seemed like something that would be really fun to discuss of which prospects that have yet to debut could be pre-arb candidates moving forward. Because I think Mead surprised a lot of people. I don't think the Corbin Carroll deal surprised anyone. It's always like oh shit, like they just gave that guy $100 million and he's barely played. But I don't think it was shocking. Curtis Mead, people were like, whoa, he's like that, and he is like that. So we want to highlight the other guys who are like that.
Yes. So what I did is I compiled a list of 30 to 35 names. And honestly, we're going to go rapid fire. And these are guys that, yes, have graduated from prospect ranks. I'm going to throw you an Alek Manoah, and we're going to have a pitching conversation. A couple of guys that are year 1, year 2, maybe even year 3, any pre-arb candidates.
Okay.
But I also have a bunch of prospects that I almost bucketed into major league master. We already know that they are big leaguers. They're probably going to break camp, or wild cards where they're AA, AAA. I did not include a guy like Pete Crow Armstrong because he's probably going to debut in high A or double. Why would you extend a guy that probably isn't going to make it this year? You know what I mean? So we're talking about upper minors guys that are set to debut this year, or guys that have already been in Major League Baseball.
With that note, PCA will be a prime candidate for this
next year.
Because we are looking at, and we'll break it down case by case, and you'll see a lot of recurring themes with what the outline or background of a player is that we want to see that you would give that deal to, right? It's going to be a guy that even if he doesn't hit, like we talked about with Corbin Carroll, he's giving you value in other departments.
Correct.
Like a Pete Crow Armstrong, you give him a pre-arb deal in a year, even if he doesn't hit, he's going to give you a lot of value.
He's Kevin Kiermaier.
Yeah, he's Kevin Kiermaier if he doesn't ban out. So that is exactly what you're looking for, is a guy that will give you something. Not Scott Kingery where you're paying him and he's giving you nothing. John Singleton, he had to hit and he didn't hit.
Right.
Guys like that, it's a little bit tough, but I think the game has continued to evolve and learn which guys fit that bucket. Pitchers in general, you almost never want to do it unless they're already established in the bigs and you can get a really reasonable deal like Spencer Strider. But I'd even argue that that's one of the riskier pre-arb deals we've seen. Absolutely. And we already saw him get hurt a little bit. So it's going to be fun to talk about. I wanted to also, I'll let you add to that point, but I also wanted to mention, we're going to talk a little bit about spring training, guys that are performing, and how it may impact their timeline to the big leagues as well. Because most of the guys that had no shot of breaking camp, they're gone. Yes. They were already optioned. Some of the guys that still probably are unlikely to break camp are still there because teams want to see more. And I think when you look at the Casey Schmidts of the world, maybe even the Brett Beatties, who could potentially break camp, but Casey Schmidt more so, that's a guy that I think based on his performance could be expediting his timeline with maybe a strong month of AAA. They'll say, we'll count this spring training month that we saw as almost another month of AAA performance and bring him up a little bit quicker.
Well, even a guy with a little bit more prospect sex appeal, Mason Wynn's still in big league spring. It's weird, but you could see Mason Wynn, who didn't really impact the ball that much, but hit to a high batting average and double. Maybe if he continues to perform in big league spring, all of a sudden he's in Memphis with Walker, and Walker probably gets up sooner, but that's a guy that is very young starting in triple because he had a good spring. So we're going to talk about those guys that probably expedited their process. One more thing on the Mead thing. And this was not small world, but I didn't realize the whole worlds collide thing. I expect somebody with a platform like Jeff Passan, because that move or that, rumored idea that Mead was an extension candidate, that initially broke from Passan. I expect him to tweet about Corbin Carroll and Gunnar Henderson and Andrew Painter. That was a very weird prospect. What on earth is Passan? About Curtis Mead, but I was like, okay, people are starting to get it. The talent in baseball is so good, and the talent in minor league baseball, I think you could argue, is as plentiful as it has been in a very, very long time.
Well, as we're making the top 100 list right now, I'm really struggling to go through the names here. 100 names. It's damn, maybe we should do 150. There is a ridiculous amount of talent, and high upside talent is the difference now. I think when you used to look at the back half of the top 100, it'd be oh, this guy could be a solid regular. back half of the top 100 now is like, this guy could still be an all-star. It's just less likely than some of the other guys ahead of him. So that's the fun part about it. Real quick, just kind of maintenance on the spring training side. Brett Beatty, I don't know if Mets fans that are listening to this or watching this, they may be really impressed with the glove. They've probably seen a lot of the highlights because he's been making a lot of plays. And there was a lot of questions about Beatty's glove. I think he's answered a lot of them. I don't think he's ever going to excel defensively, but he looks really comfortable out there defensively. The bat for me is ready. I really do think he's ready. I think we've seen what he's done in spring training so far, which you have the numbers up. I'm pretty sure he's been raking in spring.
Yeah. But he's 12 for 32 with 6 walks, 9 punch outs. So 9 punch outs and 40 plate appearances. He only has 2 extra base hits and 40 plate appearances. That's interesting. But he's hitting to a high batting.
Yeah. And that's something too, man. Like his powers, he's going to hit the ball.
It's hard. There. Like you're not concerned about
So I'm interested to see how I think Platoon could be an opportunity here. They prefer Escobar swinging just from the right side. Like his swing is better from the right side. He's more productive.
Beatty's left-handed.
Beatty's left-handed. Make that work. And then you can rotate into the DH. I think Beatty, they're going to give him as long of a look as possible because I know the numbers weren't great in his big league debut before he got hurt, but he was putting together good at bats. So that's a guy that I think, is easily making the case to potentially break camp or at least expedite his promotion. Casey Schmidt's another one. I've talked about him a lot, but I just want to touch on what Schmidt's doing. I don't know if he's going to break camp. It's probably unlikely. He only played a handful of games in AAA last year, but I think he just expedited his timeline dramatically with what he's done. And I think with a strong month to start the season, we could see him up at the big league level very quickly. He has been mashing so far, 462, 885 slash line so far. And this is an adjusted swing or adjusted setup, I should say. He's getting into his backside. He's using his lower half a lot more. And now we're seeing that average power comfortably above average. Everything else has been there for him. He will be one of the best defensive third basemen in baseball. And then sticking to the Giants, Blake Sabol, who I know you like. You saw a lot of him, in Indianapolis. And, you were surprised when he was not protected, in that Rule 5 draft. I think a lot of people that follow the Pirates or the Pirates minor leagues were surprised by that. Sabol, I watched defensively. It's going to be a little bit of a process there, but obviously we're seeing less importance on receiving.
Right.
But he's a good athlete. He's hitting the ball. Yeah. And that's what the Giants drafted him to do, because even if he can't catch, they wanted that bat. He can play the outfield. They don't have a ton of outfield depth. Blake Sabol looks good in the spring. Obviously, he has to be with the big league team, but this has to make them feel pretty good about their Rule 5 selection.
I think so. And Sabol, yes, he may be in the opening day lineup as a DH, but they need some outfield depth bad, like you're saying. So you've got Conforto slated in left, Peterson slated in right, and you've got Mike Yastrzemski slated in center. Conforto is as wild card of a wild card as you could possibly find. Jock has a job. He is an everyday guy. I think Jock may be the only everyday caliber guy in the Giants lineup, which is why I think Sabol was such a good pickup, and why I think Casey Schmidt should break camp. I know that David VR has done some good things.
I like him.
Yes, but is Schmidt an upgrade?
Yes.
Right? How about when you look at the fourth infielder, right? Like the bench infielder. JD Davis, Wilmer Flores, or Casey Schmidt?
Casey Schmidt.
Right? There's no doubt.
And that's the thing, is VR can move around too. So that's the thing. I think you get the month of VR playing. If he swings it, you keep him in the lineup. Whoever's not performing, you relegate them, and Casey Schmidt comes up and I think we'll be ready to go. And also, I think we'll give you plus defense from day one.
Yes.
Tristan Casas, he's going to break in on opening day.
Yeah, no worries.
But I just wanted to note that he is scorching the baseball.
Yes.
It's not just the numbers. It's like we're looking at exit velocities and how hard he's hitting it consistently. It seems like every single ball he hits is over 100 miles an hour. Look out for Tristan Casas. I think he's about to light the world on fire right now, and I'm excited about that. And then one last guy to mention, Michael Toglia. That's a guy that we've been talking about a little bit, kind of waiting for that breakout, or at least waiting for him to add a little bit more impact. He's punching out this spring. He's going to punch out. He's going to walk, though, and he's going to hit for some power in Colorado. I'm wondering what the plan is with Toglia. He's still in big league camp. He's played a ton. He's played as much as anybody in spring training thus far. Do the Rockies plan on maybe opening the season with Michael Toglia, or does he have to maybe prove it a little bit in AAA?
Well, I think they should open with Toglia because he has gotten a big league cameo, and according to Roster Resource, Here are the DH options with CJ Cron slated at first base, which is why I think Toglia should play first and Cron should DH. Elehuris Montero is slated in as the opening day DH, and the bench, Brian Serven, Alan Trejo, Harold Castro, Nolan Jones.
Yeah.
I want Toglia in that lineup.
Yeah.
I want Cron DHing. I want Toglia at first base.
Yeah. And Toglia can play a little bit of outfield. They've been trying him out there, so they might as well.
But you don't have to.
No.
That's the thing. You know what I mean? Like, you've got Bryant in left, because McMahon, I guess, is going to play second, and Moustakas is going to play third.
Yeah.
Weird pickup, like Moustakas.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that.
I don't know why you move McMahon off a third when you have two third basemen in Bryant and McMahon.
And McMahon's a great third baseman.
He's an excellent third baseman, like Gold Glove candidate third baseman. So I have no idea why.
Rockies are gonna Rocky, man.
Yeah, so weird. But yeah, I think Toglia should be in the opening day lineup.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think we've seen enough.
Did you talk CES last episode?
Yes, I did last
episode. That guy's a freak show.
He's a freak show. He's hitting, man. He's really hitting.
I can't wait to see him.
That's a guy who obviously isn't breaking camp. He got sent to my option, but he expedited his timeline, quite a bit.
Open and triple, like, has to.
I would have said open and double, and then after the spring, now I think open and triple. And that's what these guys can do, right? It's not only are you getting yourself up to the big leagues quicker, you might be able to make it very clear that you deserve a more aggressive assignment. Mason Wynn, to circle back and wrap a bow on it all. Cardinals are always aggressive. Yeah. He's here for a reason. I think they wanted him to prove that he's ready for AAA, and I think that's exactly what he's done. He's going to go to AAA.
I think they also lack some depth, too. And I see Memphis actually right away this year in Indianapolis. I think they're at Memphis. And if I get Walker and Wynn,
I think you will,
in that Memphis lineup, that's going to be awesome.
I think you will.
Although I do think Walker should break camp. He's so good, but
he is that good, but he needs to work on the defense.
Yeah. Real quick before we get to the extensions, I know there are two guys. One of them's going to break camp in Atlanta.
Yeah, Jared Schuster, Dylan Dodd.
Yes.
They're kind of the same person. Like, they're very similar. They're lefties who throw strikes, sneaky fastball, and one good pitch. For Schuster, it's the changeup. For Dodd, it's more the breaking ball slider. I don't know. Like, they both look really good. I think you can't go wrong here. They're both 24, by the way.
Right.
I don't think you can go wrong. I wonder if, because of the way Dodd looked last year, stuff is maybe slightly better. Mm-hmm. I wonder if they're going to go with Dodd. But Schuster does have the first-round pedigree and is a guy that, I think has been a little bit more highly regarded, quote unquote, by them. But you look at the numbers, it's pretty close. They can't go wrong here. And that's the good thing, is if one of them falters, they can go to the other. I'm interested to see who they go with, though.
To set the scene, Atlanta, Mike Soroka, and you cannot bank on anything for Mike Soroka, unfortunately, because he's been out for so long. He aggravated a hammy. So he's not going to – he might be 60-day IL. Like, that's what we're looking at. He is not going to be first time through the rotation. They already optioned Ian Anderson, who was brutal in the spring, and Bryce Elder, who I think is, the Atlanta to Gwinnett drive. Like, that's that guy.
Yeah.
He's a Davis Martin thing.
He's the
Davis Martin. So it's not Elder, it's not Anderson, it's not Soroka. It has to be one of these two guys making their major league debut on the 5th game of the season for Atlanta. Dodd, 3rd round, 21. Schuster, 1st round, 20. Do with that information what you will. These guys have almost identical lines in the spring. Dylan Dodd, 8 1/3. And again, opponent quality is a great thing that Baseball Reference does. He's facing between a AA and AAA hitter. He's 7.5. 8 is triple, 7 is double. Schuster is facing 7.7. So slightly better, but identical. Dodd, 8 1/3, 5 hits, no runs, 11 strikeouts, no walks. Excellent. Schuster, 8 2/3, 2 hits, 1 run, was a homer, 9 punch outs, 1 walk. Those guys, they're both acing it.
Yeah.
Who gets the ball the last possession when each guy is 6 for 6 from beyond the arc?
I know. It's literally what it is.
You're right.
It was it reminds me of the first game with the Mavericks where it was Kyrie and Luka.
They're both passing it. It's who's going to shoot?
Yeah. So this is one of those where, it's a great problem for the Braves. And this is what the Braves do, man. They take guys that were never top 100 prospects, really, and just help maximize them, develop them, and turn them into productive big leaguers. And I think both of these guys are going to be productive big league starters. I don't think they can go wrong. I don't know what they're going to do here. I won't pretend to know. And I think they're both very similar. I will say, Schuster has probably looked as good as we could have imagined this spring.
Yeah.
And I do wonder if they go with him. Also, he works so quickly that the pitch clock is just built for him, but Dodd was pitching with the pitch clock in the minors last year too. So it is a really interesting setup. I don't know. Who do you think they go with here? I think you're leaning Schuster, but I think Dodd's command is slightly more consistent, but it's tough.
These minor league numbers are splitting hairs. So I'm looking at Schuster right now. Schuster between double and triple, 140 innings, 145 punch outs, 38 walks. So remember, 139 and a third, 9.4 Ks per nine, 2.5 walks per nine. Dylan Dodd, 142 innings, 9.7 Ks per nine, 2.0 walks per nine. They're the same guy. It's between high A, double, and triple. And Dodd spent the overwhelming majority of the year in high, 16 starts in high, 9 starts in double, 1 start in triple. At the end, he went 6 2/3. It's an identical thing. The only reason I actually say Dodd is because I don't think it's fluky. Like, I don't think either guy is fluky. I think if you can manipulate a first round guy, the Braves are going to do it.
Yeah.
I do think that Schuster is as seasoned as they possibly come. That guy is never going to walk 2 guys in a row, ever. But Dodd kind of seems like the guy that's never going to walk 2 guys in a row too. It's the same one. I'd rather start the clock of my non-first rounder than my first rounder.
I will say Dodd throws a little harder too. And threw a little harder last year. So maybe that's something too. They just want to kind of see how it goes there and then bring Schuster up right after. I'm interested to see how they handle it. And there's no wrong answer. And it's a great problem to have because it just means the Braves are getting the most out of their lefty pitchability guys that are seeing their stuff kind of tick up. And Schuster's stuff has ticked up this spring. Shorter spurts, but that's still something to watch because Schuster's fastball was averaging 90.5 miles an hour last year. He's been sitting more 92.5 this spring. That's really good to see. So I'm very, very interested to see how things go this year. But here's the thing with Major League Baseball. They're going to need both of them at some point. And I think the very clear thing is that both of these guys are better options than Ian Anderson, which I can't believe I'm saying.
I can't believe
I'm saying that. And better options than Muller. So, or not Muller, sorry. Elder, excuse me. Better options than Elder. So
now that you traded Muller, again,
Muller with my recently. So
and again, like we talked about this, I mean, they probably traded Muller because they knew they had 2 lefties.
Correct.
And you look at, if you weren't factoring in Schuster and Dodd, and I think a lot of people weren't factoring in Schuster.
I wasn't factoring in Dodd. I was factoring in Schuster, but not Dodd.
But Fried's a lefty. After that, Kyle Wright's a righty. Strider's a righty. Morton's a righty. Who's the 5? Soroka's a righty. Anderson's a righty. Elder's a righty.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've got 2 lefties that'll factor in, and they will have a 2 lefty rotation here. Charlie Morton has a $20 million club option next year. No chance in hell they pick that up.
He's gonna pitch for it, bro. I don't think they pick it up.
But if you have both these guys sitting here, and that's the beauty of baseball, man. And just to like wax poetic about baseball for a moment, yes, these guys are in a competition. Yes, only one is going to be in the rotation on opening day, but of course, both will be asked to perform. And I think that whoever doesn't get the nod on opening day will be the first one up ahead of Anderson, ahead of Elder. And I think next year, like these 2 are teammates. Like they could be best friends. That's the beauty. And we were talking about this with Peter Apple last night, who hosted Just Baseball show with us. Like baseball is a team sport played by individuals. So what Schuster does, what Dodd does, like they could do the exact same thing. If they're both succeeding, the Braves are better.
Yeah, no, they're in great shape.
They are in excellent shape.
So, and the thing with it too is you get outs. They're both going to get more than enough opportunities at the big league level. So I'm looking forward to seeing how these guys perform and who finishes with the better year.
And as cop out as it sounds, you literally can't go wrong.
Nope.
Like if you ask me to pick a guy, I'm not going to. I don't think you can go wrong.
I'd say Dodd just off of the slightly more consistent command so far, even in spring training too, and just go with that.
Okay,
go
cool.
Yeah.
All right.